What moment reminds you of Christmas? If it's something basic, like something someone baked for you, or a funny joke, or something that you remember from your childhood, like sometimes Christmas itself can impact people differently. And for me, whenever I think of Christmas, I think of, going to friends' houses, Santa Claus showing up, dropping off presents, having all this mystery and magic and wonder of Christmas. And, over time, adult life hits you. And then you have all these moments in time that you remember when you were a kid. And then, things change and, the time passes. And sometimes, the Christmas spirit is no longer as lively as it was when you were a kid. So whenever something comes up that you're like, is it really worth doing? Is it something that, excites you or anything? You start to question and say like, I don't know, should I do this? Should I do that? You second guess yourself sometimes. And sometimes we second guess ourselves specifically when it comes to things we watch. We look at a certain thing from, a cover standpoint and be like, whatever. I don't want to watch that. Or, oh, you know what, I'll watch that later. I don't care about it. So, time passes, and then you want to revisit something. You want to see something that you never saw before, even though so much time has passed. And you've heard so many good things about something that you want to see if it's actually any good. And I would like to say that this is actually the very essence of today's video, because for the very first time, I have officially watched the movie Elf. Now, most people are gonna say, aren't you gonna say anything that's gonna spoil this movie? Isn't that obvious? And you know what? I'm not even gonna put up a spoiler warning, because this movie has been out already since 2003, I believe. So, this movie has been out for a really, sort of long time, over 20 years. So I don't think it deserves a spoiler warning. But I do think it's important for you to go and watch the movie. I think that this is a movie that if you were second guessing yourself and said, you know what, I'm not going to watch this movie. It's just another dumb, Will Ferrell project type movie that I don't need to watch. Trust me, watch the movie. And then I want you to put your thoughts down below, because I'm going to share my thoughts right now with you. But go watch the movie and then come back and actually see, we'll compare notes, because honestly, there's some really cool things that I have to say about this movie. Now, first off, I would like to say that I had no idea that Jon Favreau had any involvement in Elf. And when I first saw the movie and I saw his name pop up, I was like, nah, there's no way. And yes way, he is the director of Elf, and I had no idea that he was the director of Elf. And this is it just shocked me that he was the director of Elf. And if I had known any better earlier, I think I would have given this movie a shot, specifically with all the projects he's done since this movie. Heck, he's been the lead head, I think, of projects like The Mandalorian. He was the director for the Iron Man movies. He's been around for a while now. So, to know that he has directed this movie is already a plus in and of itself. Now, seeing Will Ferrell in this movie as an elf, for me, I thought it was going to be just a dumb story. It was always kind of played around that way. Like, my dad had no interest in watching Elf from a while, honestly, ever since the movie came out. My dad was like, this is another dumb Will Ferrell movie. I'm not going to watch this. And obviously, it kind of rubbed off on me as well, because I really had no interest in watching Elf. from a young age, mainly due to that fact. That was like, oh, it's just another dumb Christmas movie. But I sat down and watched it, and seeing Will Ferrell in this movie as this elf, this like super lovable character, seeing his interaction with the other elves, seeing his backstory, you know, in the North Pole, helping out Santa, all these little things are just so well done and so well produced. This is a story that is super well produced. You know, it has a lot of heart in it. You know, I see that it was a labor of love for the people involved in this movie. Not once did I look at this movie and think, yeah, these people really don't care about this project, or these people are really not caring what they're doing. No, they really cared, and it shows on screen that these people really cared about what they were doing and what kind of product they were producing. So I think that it takes a lot of hard work to put all these people on screen and kind of give them this sort of well-constructed story. And I think Jon Favreau and the writing team really worked well together in order to produce this movie. You know, set design was top-notch. I mean, the whole North Pole aspect, having, you know, these characters interact with, you know, stop-motion characters. Like, little things like that. Stuff that you really wouldn't think twice about, but just the fact that it was in this movie and it worked in that way is absolutely amazing. And I have to give them props as well for setting this movie up with a really nice score, a nice soundtrack, you know, for the movie. Very original score, even though the notes, the very familiar notes in this movie that remind us of something like the Polar Express, it's there. You can hear it in the soundtrack. There are a few notes there that are like, oh, that reminds me of Polar Express. Yes, it's there. I'm just stating the obvious. You're probably going to hear it on your first watch as well, but trust me, it's there, and I like it. It's nice. It's like a little nod, you know, that ultimately came about in Polar Express. But it's funny to see that there. But the whole entire movie has great music. Like, the entire background music and like magical-esque sound escapades throughout this movie are incredible. Now, something that I have to point out that I really think was great of this movie are the smaller scenes where we see Will Ferrell like interacting with people or out on the street, and they're actually recording him interacting and stuff. I have a feeling, I don't know if this is the actual fact, but I have a feeling that those scenes that they shot of Will Ferrell just doing whatever as, you know, Buddy the Elf was ultimately completely improvised. And I say that because it looks improvised to me. It looks like it was completely devised in his brain. Like, you know what? We're going to do something funny right now. So then they actually go ahead and they do something really funny with the character. And I think it works. It was a really good approach to, you know, get that, you know, going in this movie. To actually see that people were reacting to him weirdly due to this very fact that he's this human person who thinks he's an elf and at the same time acts as such. You know, it's really funny. It's really funny to see those scenes, and I would say that that's, for me, like the little scenes that really give me highlights throughout. Like, in my mind, when I think of Elf, now I think of those scenes in specific. Someone I actually was surprised to see in this movie was Zooey Deschanel, who I had no idea did any movies prior to, say, maybe 2008, 2010. I'm not really familiar with her work entirely, but to see her in this movie, I was like, wow, that's interesting, because I had no idea she was even involved in this project. And it so happens that she was, and it's incredible to see her. She is fantastic in this movie as this sort of like shy chick who works at, you know, a Christmas shop. And, you know, seeing Buddy the Elf and her like interacting, you know, Will Ferrell and her interact with each other is absolutely amazing. And really fun and really sweet as well, seeing them go on that first date. Just absolutely amazing. So ultimately the question pops up, and that is this the greatest Christmas movie of all time? And I mean, I don't know if I can even answer that question, because it's such a well-produced movie. The story is so well constructed. The music is so well played and utilized in this movie. I have to say, I don't think it's the greatest Christmas movie, I should say, of all time. But I would say it lives amongst maybe the top 5 greatest Christmas movies of all time. Within the top 5, I would say. I can't say that it is ultimately the best one of all time, but definitely within the top 5. And with Christmas being so iconic, with all these characters being so, memorable and amazing and exciting to see on screen, ultimately, I have to throw the question back to you guys. What do you guys think? Do you think that these characters, this story, this movie as a whole lives amongst some of the greatest movies that have Christmas in the theme ever? I'm not going to get into the debate with Die Hard. I mean, I know a bunch of people are going to say yes or no. Yes, it being a Christmas movie. No, it not being a Christmas movie. But nonetheless, Die Hard is not the subject here. The subject here is Elf. And Elf is, in my opinion, a great movie. So that becomes the question as well. Do you think that Elf is a good movie in and of itself, apart from the theme that it actually portrays itself? Do you think that Will Ferrell was good in this movie? Do you think Zooey Deschanel was good in this movie? Do you wish that they had made a second movie? Those are all questions that I would love to know and hear from you. And that all happens down there in the comments. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos go live on this channel. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. And I'll see you in the next video.
Scrolling through YouTube, same old routine, then bam, movie savant, what a scene. Trivia bombshells dropping knowledge like rain. Forget the dishes, gotta watch it again. Movie buffs unite, savants to place. Subscribe and hit the bell, don't leave a trace. Next level knowledge keeps you in the loop. Savants got the scoop, ain't nothing to recoup.